Hi there, my name is John Holden. I graduated from the University of Connecticut in 1992 with a bachelor's degree in ornamental horticulture. In 1993, I started Land Designs Unlimited. I design, install, and maintain landscapes for homeowners in Upper Fairfield County, Connecticut. Today, I'd like to share my passion with you. How you doing today, folks? Today I'd like to go ahead and show you how to prune a dragon lady holly, which is what's right behind me here. Now we'll do another video another time about how to prune a shorter one, but I know I had some videos I put last year up and I had a lot of people asking me how to go about pruning a holly as big as this one here. This is a multi-stem dragon lady holly, and I'd say it's about 15 to 16 feet tall. So if you take a look over this way, you can see I've got my three-legged ladder to get up into it and do my pruning. And you know, yesterday I was out working and I thought it was going to be a nice warm day today, and I was actually working in a t-shirt, so I wore, you know, my maroon shirt here thinking I'd get out and be able to, you know, be styling, but I'm still going to stick with the long sleeves today because it's overcast. There's some rain coming later in the day. So I think we're going to just go with this look. You really want to prune it when it's dormant. So in a perfect world, you would come out and prune Dragon Lady Holly in the middle of the winter. Dragon Lady Hollies bloom on the previous season's growth. So the previous season's growth is going to have both the flowers, which are opening right now, and there's a kind of a buzz behind me because of all the bees, and then the fruit is going to come later in the season. So in a perfect world, yes, you would prune this shrub over the winter. Now in the real world, people never call me over the winter and say, hey John, I've got a Dragon Lady Holly, it needs to be pruned. They call me in the spring, say, John, things are overgrown, can you get it back under control? And so we end up pruning whenever we're out. I'll zoom in for you and show you the flowers, and there's a nice bumblebee. The flowers, and there's, you know, little fruits forming. We're going to end up cutting them off. There's no way around that. We're going to cut some of them off. Hopefully we'll leave some for some color. The house I'm working at, I made a video probably 3 or 4 years ago. It was one of my earlier videos where I gave you a tour of the landscape. So if you want to see the landscape I'm working in, I'll put a video right here, which is going to show you where we're working. And then today, if you take a look at my pruners, I used these yesterday, but every day when I put my pruners away, I'll take a wire brush out, I'll clean them off, then I'll put a nice fresh edge, just a very light maintenance sharpening on the edge of my pruners, and then I'll put a light coat of oil on them. So every day when I start my pruning, it's like I've got a brand new pair of pruning shears, maybe better than new. You know, it's not like I'm reaching out and I'm getting these rusty, you know, pruners that don't slide very well and you got to squeeze super hard. And if you're pruning a shrub this big, I really would recommend you have a nice, you know, well-oiled, sharp pair of pruners. I just think it's just a good thing to have, you know, well-maintained tools. So I made a video about how I go through my daily maintenance on my pruners, and I'm going to put a link to that video right over here for you, because it really makes such a difference having nice, sharp pruners. And then the final video I want to show you guys is just an overview of selective pruning. We're going to selectively prune the shrub today. So we're going to reach into the shrub. We're not going to get shears out and make a big ball out of it. We're going to reach into the shrub. We're going to prune at different levels and make the foliage kind of tiered, because that allows more air and light into the shrub. If you take a look at this one, you can see that it's not this really tightly pruned shrub. It's got a more natural feel to it. It's more forgiving if you make a mistake. But I'm going to put a link to that video right over here, and take a look at that video, then come back and watch. Now today, because the shrub is so big, I'm just going to do everything at once. I'll probably stop the video 2 or 3 times through the process, but we'll start at the ground level. I'll prune everything I can reach. It's always much easier to prune from the ground. So I'm going to prune everything I can reach from the ground. Then I'll bring the ladder in and I'll work like the next third, and then I'll go all the way up to the top and work the final third. But in the video I talk about going deep into the shrub, then going a little bit less into the shrub, then finally on the outer tier. I can't do that today, or I could do that today, but in the interest of being productive, I'm just going to do it all at once. I thought I was going to start pruning at the bottom of this shrub, but the way it's been pruned before, got a blue jay flying around making a lot of noise. There's only one of them. Usually I see them in groups. But if you listen, so normally what I'll do is I'll start at the bottom and work my way up. This shrub has been pruned very tightly at the bottom because that's usually where folks can reach. And then the top is kind of wider. Whenever you're pruning shrubs, you want to give them a pyramidal habit. You don't want to prune them narrower in the bottom and then fatter at the top. You want to have a pyramidal habit because if it's fatter on top, that growth is going to block, it's going to block the light to the bottom of the shrub. I don't even know what that bird is. You hear that? It's coming from the same area the blue jay was at. So I'm kind of leaning into the shrub right here, but I've also put on a pair of gloves. Dragon ladies are extremely sharp. Most of your hollies are sharp, but dragon ladies are actually sharper than the norm. So we're just going to start pruning by reaching in and looking for a V or a crotch and cutting into the shrub. Anything I see that's really long, I want to cut that back into the shrub. And we're going to cut either to a crotch or just above some leaves. And holly are pretty good at having foliage on the inside as well. And I'm kind of precariously perched on this ladder. I don't want to lean too far, so I go over. We've gone through and done a lot of pruning in the middle of this shrub here. I didn't touch much at the bottom, but I think you can already see how the shrub has got more of a columnar habit. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get the top narrower than the bottom, but I can definitely get it to be at least the same size. A tool that comes in very handy for pruning jobs like this is this tool right here. This is called an ARS long-handled pruner. I got it at a company called AM Leonard. And this thing is just so nice because I can reach up, and if there's a stray branch I missed, I can just reach up and snip it. And it's a lot easier than messing with that ladder all day or even being on the ladder and reaching in. I try not to use this to prune the entire top, but sometimes when you get to the very tippity top, it's just too hard to try to reach over with your pruners and get something without feeling like you're going to fall off the ladder. So we're just about there for this holly, and I gotta say, it's really not putting up much of a fight today. I think that the last time I pruned it, which again was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I don't think this holly's been touched since then. So most of the growth is longer, so it's not like I've got to nip back a whole bunch of smaller growth, which if it had been sheer, there would have been a whole bunch of small growth. It's basically just cutting the branches back into the shrub, and then they'll fill out again this year. I'm really happy with the way things are looking. It's opened the shrub up quite a bit. There's a little bench on the stoop here, and you're not going to feel like you're going to whack your head into the sharp thorns of the holly when you sit on this bench. So all I'm going to do now is just go through and kind of clean it up a bit. You know, just look for any branches that are really sticking out. I'm going to see if I have like a flat spot in the shrub and I need to maybe cut back a little farther in there. And if the shrub doesn't have a nice round outline, I'll cut some back to give it that round outline. Always remembering that whenever I'm pruning, even though there is kind of a general shape to the shrub, even though you think you need to cut right on the outside where that line is, always cut a little bit deeper or a little bit farther out. Usually I'll cut a little bit deeper. 2/3 of the time I'll go deeper, 1/3 maybe farther out. But we're not trying to prune everything on the same level. You want to cut it back into the shrub, let it flush out and bring more growth. So we're all set, folks. This is the end result. I gave it more of a columnar shape than a really pyramidal shape, but we've controlled the size on this guy. And if I were to come back and do this once a year, maybe twice a year, a little maintenance pruning, you know, late spring, early summer, you know, we would have a beautiful shape to the shrub. It wouldn't get out of control with size. And it would look very natural, and it does look very natural. And I'm happy to say that, you know, this shrub really it wasn't that hard to do. I guess I've been doing this long enough now that, you know, you just follow the steps. You prune into the shrub, you make it natural. Wherever there's dense foliage, you clean it out a little bit. You try to make sure it's a little bit smaller at the top and the bottom, and you just work your way through. But this shrub really wasn't that big a deal. Oh, you also have the right tools, the three-legged ladder and the extendable pruner. That's pretty much night and day difference as well. But this is the end result, and I hope you'll agree that this is much better than it was, and I hope you'll also agree it looks better than if it was sheared. There's a couple videos. If you enjoyed today's video, I made a video about choosing ladders and extendable pruners where I talk a little bit more about my three-legged ladder and my extendable, my ARS extendable pruner. So I'll put a link to that video right here. It does a really nice job kind of going through, you know, what you can do with these and a little more detail about them. And then in the beginning of the video, I mentioned a video I made about how to sharpen your pruning shears. And again, for me, you know, even though I'll probably only end up working, you know, pruning for maybe 2, maybe 3 hours today. When the day ends, I'll go through and I'll clean off all the gunk on my pruners with a wire brush. I'll get a file and I'll sharpen that edge, and then I'll put a light coat of oil on them. So my pruners are always ready to go. And it just, I don't know if you saw how nicely I was cutting through this stuff today, but it does make a difference. Thanks a lot for watching today, folks. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're new to the channel, please feel free to subscribe. If you like the video, you know, there's a lot of videos out there, and I think YouTube, part of the way they decide what plays is by clicking that little like button. So if you think this video got you well on your way to pruning, if you could do me a favor and click that like button so people know about the great video we have, it would be much appreciated. Thanks for watching, folks, and have a wonderful day.